continuing our class on persecution. So we finished the Valerian persecution, and now we come to the Great Persecution. Great Persecution that started from 299, and this persecution was preceded by a purge of Christians from the army in 299, and the Emperor Diocletian seems to have been influenced by his Caesar. In this case it is Deputy Emperor Galerius, and he insisted Diocletian to impose some persecution upon Christians, and his first edict in 303 ordered the surrender and destruction of all scriptures, and the dismantling of churches and the cessation of Christian worship. So in 303, these three orders he issued. First one is surrender and destruction of all scriptures. Second, the dismantling of churches. This is the second. First one, surrendering all the scriptures. Second, dismantling of the churches. Third one is cessation of Christian worship. Christian worship is banned in 303. The second edict ordered the arrest of clergy. All the clergy must be arrested. And a third edict was there that the clergy be forced to sacrifice. They were forced to sacrifice and then released. So they were forced to sacrifice before the emperor cult and then released. And a few reluctant to do that, and they were executed. And in 304, a fourth edict ordered a general sacrifice throughout the empire. Throughout the empire there was a general sacrifice was imposed in 304. That means everyone should sacrifice and obtain the certificate that they sacrificed. How this persecution ended, that we study little bit now, and later when we study about Emperor Constantine, we study more on that end of persecution. So in 305, when Diocletian and his co-emperor resigned, and Galerius and Constantinus became the new emperors, and thereafter persecution effectively ended in the west. So, and then persecution ended in the east when Galerius was on his deathbed in 311, and followed by that military victories by Constantine brought a total end. See, actually this Constantine became a Christian. Emperor Constantine became a Christian, and that was the end of persecution for the Christians. So after that, once the church was persecuted by the Roman emperors, and now the emperor itself became a Christian, and that was the end of the persecution. So that is how the persecution ended in the Roman Empire. Now we just go through some kind of an evaluation today, that is effect of persecution. How this persecution affected the church. Some positive effects are there for this persecution. First of all, persecution served as refining fire upon the life of the church. At the time of peace, thousands embraced Christianity, probably many without real commitment to Christ, and the Christians lived without paying the price of commitment and holiness, and each persecution purified the church, or in other words, it acted as a purifying fire. So when there was a persecution, people were, or the Christians, those who are not true Christians, or Christians who, or people who join Christianity without proper commitment, they left the church because they cannot bear the persecution, so they already left the church. And only those who are faithful and committed Christians survived in the church. So in that sense, persecution had a positive effect. Persecution served as a refining fire in the church or for Christianity. So that is a positive thing regarding persecution. Secondly, persecution enhanced evangelism. Persecution enhanced evangelism. It caused to attract many people. See, Tertullian said, the blood of the martyr is seed of the church. Blood of the martyr is the seed of the church. And the heroic testimonies of the martyrs proved that the faith of Christianity is worthy even to give one's life. So, the heroic testimonies of the martyrs proved that being a Christian is worthy even to give one's life. So, in that sense, this Christianity served as a purifying fire. The Christianity or the persecution enhanced evangelism. So, these are the two positive effects of persecution upon Christianity. First of all, it served as a refining fire. Only the faithful Christians who were really faithful survived in Christianity, because the others they backslided when there was a persecution. And secondly, we said it enhanced evangelism. It enhanced evangelism because Tertullian said the blood of the martyr is the seed of the church, and the heroic testimonies of the martyrs proved that the faith of Christianity is worthy even to give one's life. And in many places, hundreds of people embrace Christianity as a result of the patience and the suffering, heroic sufferings of Christians. By seeing their heroic suffering, many people, thousands, embrace Christianity. So it enhanced evangelism. These are the two positive things. What are the negative things? Mainly one negative thing or negative point that we can say about persecution. First is, in times of persecution, hundreds of Christians left their faith. That was not a problem. That acted as a purifying fire. Hundreds of Christians left the church, left the faith or left their faith. But the problem happened when those lapsed Christians wanted to come back into the church after the persecution. The question of their readmission often posed serious and lasting problems, resulting in schisms, resulting in divisions. Resulting in schisms or divisions. That means these people, when persecution was there, these people, they left the church. And once the persecution come to an end and there was no persecution, people wanted to come back to the church, and that caused what? That caused schism or division in the church, because these people, they came back to the church. These people who, when they want to come back to the church, people in the church at that time were not ready to accept them, because they said they were already backslided people, but they now wanted to come back. But some people in the church said, no, we need to accept them. So there was a division. Okay, let me just explain. There were three groups of people at the time of Decian persecution. We already said Decian issued an edict that everyone should obtain libellius, a certificate that they sacrificed to the emperor cult. So there were three types of lapsed Christians at that time. The first one is, we call them as sacrificate. Those who actually sacrifice to the gods. These people, they actually sacrifice to the gods and they obtained certificate. And there was another backslided Christians, they were known as purificate. These people were merely burned incense before the statues of the emperor. They did not sacrifice, but they just burned some incense before the statue, and they also obtained the certificate that they sacrificed. And there was a more smart people. They were known as libellatici. These people, those who did not sacrifice or burn incense, But these people in some ways obtained a certificate that they had done so, they had sacrificed. Okay, sometimes I say they were most probably, if people, they were the people with the mind of Indians. They did not sacrifice, they did not even burn incense, but somehow they obtained the certificate and escaped from the persecution. They were also considered as the lapsed Christians. So issue happened in church when they came back to the church after the persecution. Up to that time there was no issue at all. But once they wanted to come back to the church, there was an issue between the people who wanted to accept them and the people who want them to be still outside of the church. So now there is a problem, a schism happened in the church because of persecution. So these are the positive and the negative effects of persecution. So with that we are completing the topic persecution, and next class onwards we are moving to the next topic, that is church fathers, or we call them as the apostolic fathers. Thank you.